It is January 2026, and this time of year is a good time of year to talk about climate change, in large part because this is when the year-end data becomes available, and one can consider how the year 2025 ranked compared to previous years. But because it is January, it is also cold. It may be snowing, and there may be individuals who say, "How can there be climate change? It's cold outside my window. It's snowing outside my window. This climate change talk is silly." For many, this may be a legitimate point of confusion, and I would be happy to explain how the difference between weather and climate should be considered with this data. Unfortunately, there are some to whom this has already been explained, and they continue to propagate statements such as that, simply because they're trying to spread misinformation, perhaps with a political axe to grind. But for the first group, here are examples of weather. Early January 2026 in the Northeast United States was cold, but the middle of January was warm, and then the late January time period where I'm making this video now, it was cold once again. Perhaps you can see this in these images from the Delaware River. It started off cold. By the middle of the month, I actually was kayaking in the Delaware, which was essentially ice-free. Very unusual for this time of year. I even saw a duck I had never seen before. That was awesome. But it is now cold once again, and one would never go kayaking because of the danger of the ice. The weather changed over the course of January, but the climate did not. Let's say you went skiing in this area. Mid-January, February typically are times in which the ski slopes and all of the landscape is covered in snow, and it won't melt until March. You could go to these ski slopes today and they would be entirely white. And while I'm speaking, it's snowing and we're scheduled to get a foot of snow. But last year in mid-January, the ski slope was not fully operational and much of its terrain was melted. A few years ago in February, the same was the case. So how does one distinguish if it's cold now, but last year it was warmer? Or in these examples, in December 2025, last month, the South and Central U.S. was colder than average. Okay, so no climate change. But the Northeast was average or a little warmer, and the West was warmer. Okay, climate change. Or so far in January 2026, it has been cooler than recent years in the United States. Okay, no climate change. But globally, it is far warmer than average. Okay, climate change. Why the back and forth? Why the inconsistency? Because this is not climate change, it's weather. Globally, the climate is changing and global temperature is warmer than average. Is January cold? Yes, it's meant to be cold. And how cold it is outside your window right now is the weather. But the study of climate is the study of how cold Januaries have been in more than the past century, and graphing them to say that all recent years have been much warmer than the 20th century average has been. This applies to global temperature throughout the year. If one were to pick the 20th century from 1900 to the year 2000 as average, all recent years have been warmer than average, and they are getting warmer and warmer, with the warmest years on record being the latest years. If one were to measure the amount of Arctic ice, it is continuing to decline. Sure, there could be a snowstorm, but that is not contrary to the predictions of climate change. In fact, the prediction of climate change is that the incidence of severe weather, including severe winter storms, will increase. And there has been a marked increase in the number of severe storms, their cost, and their severity in terms of property damage, but also in terms of injury and loss of life. So, one should not confuse a discussion of weather with the discussion of climate. The climate is changing, and planet Earth is getting warmer. This is what the overwhelming amount of evidence supports.